Alrighty, folks. Let's talk about these patch notes. We got version 1.15.3 balanced patch notes coming this next Tuesday. What is the date on that? I'm sure it says it right here somewhere, surely, right? The 21st. So that's this coming Tuesday. The meta overall has been pretty tight, so no surprise that this is a pretty minor. I do have some notes written down, but this is a pretty minor set of balance patches. We're going to go through it quick. I know in the past I've done these patch notes breakdowns where I go through every line and talk about them. Not going to do that this time. If you are one of the goons that puts this on while they're driving or puts this on when they're not watching the screen or whatever and do want to hear me read out every line of these patch notes, I can do that again in the future. I just figure most people want to get to the meat. Speaking of, this has been a long enough intro. Let's get right into it. 1.15.3 Summer Fun Mako is the face of it, which is by far the best Summer Fun skin that you're going to see here, partially because I don't want to put the other ones on the screen and get demonetized by YouTube, right? Hello champions, summer's only just begun, and we're bringing the heat with all new Summer Fun skins. Of course, that's the most important thing, right? That's the only thing that really matters in this patch, right? Is those Summer Fun skins and a slew of balance changes. Let's take a look at what's coming up. First off, the skins. I'm going to scroll past those pretty quick because, like I said, I don't want this to get taken down by YouTube for explicit, explicit images. But new colors of the other ones as well, which, whatever. Gifting is also coming. I'm not really sure what this is going to entail, but players have long been asking for a way to give their friends Predecessor content. We're rolling out gifting in this update. No real word about what this is going to look like, if there are certain cosmetics that you can't send people, or how this is going to look. We'll find out next Tuesday when this hits. Twitch drops. There'll be some new Twitch drops. New Opaline effects are overlapping. They were functioning on the images. Now they're going to work on the little banners as well, I guess, and probably the profile pics. So that's cool. And that's all the nonsense out of the way, right? Let's get into what we're actually here for. Balance changes. Eternals. Not too many balance changes here on the Eternals. A couple nerfs to all of the major and minor blessings that give you healing. Very small nerfs though, not too big. And then a couple buffs like Vermis to help keep up with its damage where it fell short of some of the other ones. So overall healing across these going down. We see Marrow's major blessing getting a little bit tuned down. Not really. It's still just as strong after level 16, but it's weaker until level 16 because of the way they did the scaling. And other than that, not just really minor stuff like the Thorax ult, movement speed, but then you see back to here Crix, less healing from the regenerative tissue, less max health restore from Veracity, which is good, but you do get a trade-off on some of these, like Veracity goes from 2 gold to 3 gold, so there's trade-offs, but reduced healing across all of these Eternals. Iron Will, less healing from the crit strikes. Idricel, less health regen if you take the Mending. Preservation, less bonus healing received, bonus healing or shielding received. Immaculate, getting a little bit less damage reduction if you're taking the Lotus Immaculate, and then Prima Donna, more damage intake. But that's the gist here. Demiurge, the crit to haste conversion is getting nerfed, which is crazy because very few people were really getting good value out of that. Bloatware getting reduced damage reduction, and so it's pretty straightforward. Ion also, this was really crazy that you could get essentially 20% bonus power for having full mana at all stages of the game, so they're nerfing that to 15%. But really minor Eternal changes here. Like I said, most of them just slightly reduced healing or damage mitigation options. I'm going to do an Eternals tier list update. I know a lot of people like the last Eternals ranking, so we're going to re-rank the Eternals after this, probably middle of next week, hopefully. Right after the patch, ideally, and because I know it's got a little bit outdated, Xyrus has been nerfed heavily since I made that tier list, so, and then again, it's crits getting nerfed here, so that's it for the Eternals. Nothing big, man. They got their big balance pass the last 2 patches, right? The first balance patch, and then this last Ikra patch, they got all the tuning they were going to get for the most part, so it's time to do a rankings update. I'll work on that for you guys this next coming week. The real meat of this, because those Eternal changes were not very consequential probably to impacting them that much, is the hero balance changes. Recently did the new updated hero tier list. We looked at some of the top and bottom win rates. This set of hero balance changes, to me, as always from Omeda, right, looks like a set of coin flip changes. Let's make a couple mages stronger. They did, I will admit, nerf some of the heroes that I think are some of the biggest problems right now, and I've got a couple highlighted to discuss. But overall, you'll see random heroes that maybe you don't think are that, weak, getting buffs in the case of Argus, which we'll talk about. And then some obvious outliers getting some tunes down, some nerfs down, tune down, however you want to call it. Let's talk about the nerfs first. I've got 4 heroes that, in my opinion, received the most consequential nerfs here. Adele getting some longer cooldowns. Yes, there are some trade-offs here where you're getting, this Court of Roses augment's getting a little bit better. She's getting some extra cleave if you're going to run her jungle or solo lane or something. But the meat here is more mana cost and more cooldowns on Flourish, on Iron Rose, and on the Lash. All of them, more mana, more cooldowns. That's probably going to bring her into a spot where you're not spamming all of your abilities off cooldown at support, which feels pretty oppressive right now. So appreciate that one. Next nerf I want to talk about, Boris. Unsurprisingly, he's been a top 3 jungler right for a while now. Getting his passive nerfed, a pretty understandable amount, right? Not a significant amount, but an understandable amount. And the main thing here, just a couple tune downs on the kit. You can see Chronos Wipes getting a little bit less damage and a little bit longer cooldown. The main thing I want to highlight is right here. Damage reduction decrease. Primal Roar. A lot of people may not even know that this is how this functions, but when you hit his Roar, you get % damage mitigation. And this just goes to show, man, that if you understand how things are supposed to work and you read these, you can tell when something's wrong. That's why we make statements about heroes before they release, because you can read the scaling numbers, and if you've been playing long enough, you understand what this stuff's going to mean, right? This is % mitigation on the Roar. It's getting nerfed down to 20 up to 30 from 20 to 36. People may not remember, but when Boris came out, this was 50%. This was 50% damage mitigation. So after how many patches has it been? It's finally down to at least 30% at max rank, which, is still a lot, but is more reasonable than the 50 that it originally was. So anyway, that's my rant about Boris and how reading these doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's balanced and what's not, right? Boris getting some nerfs down here. Next one I wanted to mention was, of course, we wouldn't have this balance patch without nerfs to this big dog. Ikra, the new hero, of course you got to get nerfs, man. Like I just mentioned about Boris, what did I say? As soon as Ikra dropped, right when we were discussing it, what have I been telling people to run every time someone asks me what to build on Ikra? These anomalies, dude. These anomalies, crazy. Slight tune down to these anomalies, going down to 4 seconds. Why was it 5 seconds? Why do I get a 5-second burn and anti-heal proc going down to 4 seconds, doing the same amount of damage? Glad that's at least getting addressed. The other major thing is brine. There are some trade-offs. You're getting some benefits here. Your Hydroclasm is getting a stronger slow, and it's getting armor penetration if you pop it with brine. This is a series of events that you have to catch someone in the upgraded bubble, and you have to pop it with brine. Yes, that is your goal, but if you do it, you get rewarded with 40% pin. That's cool and all. Necrosis getting some damage, some base damage is cool and all, but these brine nerfs are way, way more significant than any of these trade-off buffs that we're getting here. Scaling reduced. Kill goal decreased. Range decreased. Why did we give an ability that's basically Nettles, basically Fey Nettles, it's knock level range? We gave Fey Nettles knock level range down to a 3-second cooldown if you leveled it first. Now it goes down to a 4-second cooldown, has more reasonable range, more similar to Nettles, gives less gold on kills, at least, So, now it makes sense. Now you have a ability that's not straight up, what if we made Fey Nettles better? So at least there's some give and take. Ikra getting the very just nerfs that he deserves. And keep in mind, his win rate will go up after this because people have been just trying him out and losing more games on him than they're winning. So next patch, I do expect his win rate to be quite high. And then the final one I wanted to mention on the nerf side of things is Kalari. This is kind of snuck in there because the numbers aren't as flashy, but base movement speed reduction just slightly. Passive getting nerfed. The death mark is one of the strongest parts about Kalari's kit, right? Getting a little tuned down on the time, on the cooldowns. And then Shadow Walk also getting cooldowns increased by a second across the board. That in combination, the Shadow Walk cooldowns in combination with base movement speed decreases, is going to mean you can't get around the map as fast as Kallari, which is great. I think that's been one of the most toxic things about Kallari. And the passive, this isn't a huge nerf to the passive by any means, but it's something, right? So those are the 4 nerfs that I wanted to mention: Adele, Boris, Ikra, Kallari. There's other nerfs in here, but I think those are the most significant ones. Let's get into the most significant buffs. Let's get back up to the top here. We're going top to bottom, of course. Yeah, keep some organization, keep some professionalism about us, right? Buffs. There is a good selection of buffs in here. Starting from the top, Akron. Damage increases across the board for Akron, and I know Manny will be excited to see the Roar augment or the Push augment getting a significant buff. I'm actually excited to use that now because that sounds like it could do a stupid amount of damage. Hellfire, base damage increase. Keep in mind, this doesn't look like a lot of damage, but when you're firing 11, 15 projectiles out of that fireball, this is going to add up. Crushing Maul, getting significantly better scaling. Now scales with 4% bonus health. That's really good scaling to just slap 4% bonus health scaling on any ability in this game, with a base damage increase. And of course, it loses a little bit of its actual power scaling as a trade-off. And then the Consume, the Bite, getting even more healing and even more damage. This is a great set of buffs for Akron. I expect to see him viable probably in both solo lane and jungle, but he may not crack into that top 3 in either role, but it's just cheesy, right? It's just super cheesy if he's able to build big health now and cook people. So we'll see how that goes. Next one, Argus. There's a large selection of mages getting buffed. I'll discuss those here in just a second. But Argus, as we just discussed in the recent tier list video, is essentially a top 3 mage currently. I mean, you know, whether you're good with him or not, he's not as hard to use as he once was. And he's currently winning at a top 3 rate in mid lane. So to see him get buffs alongside these other mages, right? There's another set of mages getting buffs. To see him get buffs alongside them is kind of curious when some of the other top performers like Faye are not getting buffs. So I expect Argus to be very strong next patch. Projectile speed increased base on his ultimate, whether you take the augment or not. Damage increases across the board. What's not to like about Argus, right? Next one, Decker. I don't know how many of y'all really consider Decker weak to like be a weak hero right now, but pretty decent bumps here. Not anything major. The Strike, this is the old augment. You're probably not taking that most of the time, but it is getting a slight buff. The main thing I want to talk about is a second shorter cooldown on the beam, and at the beginning of the game, 3 seconds shorter cooldown on the containment fence. That's kind of a sneaky little buff, but just throwing this one in there as an extra one. I just don't view Decker as weak, so to see her get shorter cooldowns could mean more harassment coming out of her. Maybe she can keep up with the Makos and the phases, right? And now, the mids. There's a big selection of mids. Gadget is the first one here. Gideon. Rena. Gadget. Rena's down here below Iggy. Gadget, Gideon, Rena, Iggy, Belly. There's Howie. He got kind of lateral changes. He didn't really get buffs like these, but he got some lateral changes. But Gadget, Gideon, Rena, Iggy, Belly, even Howie when you throw him in the mix. Like I mentioned before, Argus, just general buffs across them. This Howie one's kind of crazy because his ult's doing more damage, and his mine's doing more damage, and his stuff like that's doing more damage, but he's getting a little bit less scaling on the missile. So it's just a little bit of a give and take on him, but everywhere else, on all those other ones I mentioned, straight buffs. Iggy, straight buffs. These are going to be a problem. These Iggy buffs are going to be a problem, right? Bellica, straight buffs, right? Damage increase, scaling increase, cooldown decrease, straight buffs. So keep an eye out on some of those middle of the pack mages. Gadget, Gideon, Rena, Iggy, Belly, Howie. They're just getting a little bit stronger. We're going to see most of its base damage and cooldowns, which pretty much always impact heroes. In the case of Gadget, I will say it's Gadget and Gideon, we should mention. Gideon, these are kind of flat damage bonuses except for the ult, so I like that the ult will at least hit significantly harder. But Gadget, magical power scaling on the sticky mine increases by 5%. That doesn't sound like a lot. Oh, 5% scaling. When you have 1,000 power, right? You have 1,200 power at the end of the game. That 5% scaling is adding 50, 60 damage. So, you know, it is what it is. Keep an eye on these mages. Next one I wanted to mention is Greystone, he's been in a weak spot. We can all admit he's kind of been in a weak spot, right? Getting some changes to, they said they want to make him more viable on bruiser builds or tank builds. And in order to do that, they're increasing the base damage of these abilities, but decreasing the scaling a little bit. So I don't know about this change, really. I'm a fan of getting more health scaling on any hero, like I just mentioned with Akron. And I am a fan of what they're doing with his ult here. Significantly more healing available on the ult, and you're going to be able to build magic power as he got that magic scaling, and get even more healing out of this ult healing. So I'm looking forward to like full restore Greystone builds, which should be fun, and some base damage increases so you don't have to build as big of a power number, but you're still going to need haste. So we'll see how Greystone pans out. I think that's a decent set of base damage buffs. One of the probably more impactful changes as far as these, and I think the only one that's labeled a true rework, is Narbash. The augment where he trades healing his team for power is getting swapped to now heals for 50% less instead of taking the healing out completely, and grants power. And it's not a very large amount of power, and it's a flat power. So it is what it is. When you hit the march, it'll grant additional power, so that's at least decent. But the main thing about this isn't the power number, it's that you could take this and still proc all of those heal proc items. You can still proc your wind callers if you're building it, your crystal tears, all those heal procking items, Everbloom, you can still proc all of those with this now, which was the biggest problem I think with taking that augment before. Other than that, just some kind of adjustments here. The base Song of My People is now getting some scaling based off of haste. Some of the movement speed scaling is getting haste scaling in exchange for actually being weaker, so you're more incentivized to build haste. I don't know. I wish we would just get old Nar back personally, but I'll give him a try with this new War Anthem augment change. And then the final one I wanted to mention, which I don't know why they make changes like this, right? This is what I'm talking about, the coin flip changes. A hero that already looks like they're in a decent spot and then just randomly buffing them. Skylar. Skylar's been a rather underwhelming spot for quite some time. Underwhelming? There's still people that that only pick Skylar at carry. Like, there's still people that hold the beam on you and one-shot you. Like, I just posted a Skylar clip. I posted a Skylar short this week of me one-shotting a Yin. Like, who is saying Skylar's in an underwhelming spot? Anyway, apparently since she's in an underwhelming spot, she's getting a massive buff to this Plasma Barrage augment, where it now deals an additional 6% target missing health damage on explosion. I mean, come on, man, that's crazy. It's capped against monsters, but that's still 6% missing health. That's great for finishing targets. The artillery augment, where it was firing the 3 shots on the old augment, is now fixed to do increased damage. It was not doing the correct missing health damage it was doing before, so now it's fixed. And then on top of that, we're getting 1% increased scaling on the beam from physical power, 1% increased scaling on the beam from attack speed, and on hit is proccing at a higher rate on it, or more effectively, like more, higher percentage procs. This is kind of crazy. This is, I don't know who told him that this missing health damage is also increased, by the way, based on the ult. So who told him that Skylar was an underwhelming spot? I don't know. The numbers don't really indicate that. All the carries are very, very tightly balanced right now. So we'll see. I expect to see Skylar's cooking you in your games coming up. So that's really all the changes that I wanted to mention. There are a bunch of other hero changes. This was my compromise for not going through here and reading them all line for line. Pull up these patch notes for yourself. If there's any heroes that, if your main hero didn't get mentioned and you want to see if he's in here, pull them up. But most of these other ones I did not view as significant as these changes that I just mentioned. I know I'm wrong. I get it. I'm wrong. I get it. These rampage changes are game breaking. He's no longer going to be playable in jungle. I get it. Leave the comment. Just leave the comment. We're going to move on. All these other changes, like I said, I read through all of them. Looking forward to seeing how it pans out, right? But these are the changes that I think are going to make the biggest impact relative to those heroes specifically. Let's get down into here to the item balance changes. Again, even less than the hero. This is closer to the eternal changes. Very slight shifts in not even that many items, but some to mention. Potions, first off, are getting a little weaker. Both the base potion that you get and the divine potion, if you wanted to purchase it, both getting a little bit weaker on the healing side of things, mirroring what happened, like I said, with the minor blessings in the Eternals. Some crests these are not changes, so we don't even have to worry about this. The Pygmy Dust is funny. It's not meta. It's just a troll item. But now we're down here to the items I actually wanted to mention. Right off the bat, one that I wanted to mention is important: Scattershot. Scattershot total physical power scaling increased, so now increased scaling on the damage from the scattered projectiles. Deals 50% more damage to minions. You're talking about instant wave clear. You're talking about a scaling increase and bonus damage to minions. This is now by far the best wave clear carry item in the game. There's no chance anything could even come close to this. This is insane levels of clear. Doesn't benefit from lifesteal. Those little projectiles, they now benefit from magical lifesteal. Yippee. I mean, that's some really weird cope mechanism for how hard you're buffing the other part of the effect, but whatever. So I think that's a pretty important one. Other than that, really minor changes. Lifesteal decreased by 1% on Sky Splitter. Solar Blade proc on Solaris, getting less healing effectiveness. And the next one I wanted to mention is actually impactful: Viper. No cost increase here on Viper, getting 5 extra power and 2% extra effectiveness, taking plus 10% to your on-hit ability damage. That's great, man, because on-hit builds are already gonna build Viper every time. Viper coming with 5 extra power and extra on-hit effectiveness just is great. It's just great. You might even slide this forward an item now, or consider getting it an item earlier, because of its great item effectiveness, stat effectiveness now with that extra power. So keep an eye on that one. Look at these changes, really minor. Let's put 5 power on Psionic Echo. Absolution, we're shifting it a little bit more towards attack speed and a little bit away from power. Great, straightforward stuff. But the next big one here, Earthshaker. Earthshaker is no longer an attack speed item. One of the, 4 total items in the game that give both health and attack speed. It is now removing the attack speed portion of the equation, going up to 45 power and going up to 300 health and 15 haste. This is a more committed to ability damage item than ability damage and auto attacks. You still have Rapture as an option. You still have, of course, Cursed Scroll, but this is now for mainly ability damage dealers, and its ability damage boost is getting an increase as well, up to 1.25 from 1% per stack. So looking forward to Earthshaker. It's still going to be a must build on certain heroes, right? Like the Greystones and the Crunches and stuff like that are still going to want to build it every time, but dedicated auto attackers, your Yins that were building it before, maybe not. Your Sereths that were building it before, probably not, right? But maybe, still probably viable. And then down here, just more changes. Rebirth getting more cost, Tyranny getting more ult haste, Dreambinder's slow is getting a little bit stronger in exchange for less power. Just really, really minor stuff. I'd like this entropy change to make it more worthwhile getting. Worldbreaker getting tenacity. This is what I'm talking about. Stuff like that. Yippee! 5 tenacity on Worldbreaker. Thank goodness. The last item change that I really wanted to mention as impactful here is Cresselia. This has been I was building this years ago, right? This has been Time Warp Light the whole time. There's a better version of Time Warp because it's cheaper. Sometimes you put it alongside Time Warp, especially when Time Warp was bad, right? Because it had terrible mana sustain. Now they fixed that. Anyway, Cresselia getting cheaper, getting less haste, and removing the proc where when you proc the damage after an ability, it gives you 12% cooldowns, and instead is now giving you 12 gold when you trigger it only against enemy heroes. Losing 5 haste and losing the cooldown proc on it means this is effectively no longer a cooldown item. This is a Spellblade proc item that has the potential to get you gold if you're using it to poke in lane. Very, very different than the Cresselia that we knew before, which was a true cooldown item and had a cooldown passive and it had 20 haste. Now it's got 15 haste and a gold gain passive. So it's cheap to get online. I think a lot of mids could still take it and poke. A lot of magical solo laners could still take it and poke. Supports for sure. But it's not going to get abused nearly as much or used by the majority of mid laners. It mentions here Faye, Countess, Quang. I mean, Quang solo lane, yes, right, but anyway, that's where Cresselia is landing. Other small item changes here. There's really not that much in here. 5 extra armor on Dynamo for a little bit weaker of a passive, and so on. 5 extra tenacity on great. Vanguardian, great. Flux Matrix, it's getting extra armor, going down to 10 haste from 12. So it's just really, really minor item changes here. 30 tenacity on Iron Will I can't appreciate. Give us some more. Give us some more of that, right? That's the only way we're getting through this crazy CC meta. Anyway, that's what I've got for you. Some bug fixes. That's all for now. Update version 1.15.3 launches Tuesday, the 21st. We will be there. We will be streaming. I might do a double stream that day just to keep everybody up to date and give myself some extra time to test out some of these changes. Let me know your thoughts, man. 1.15.3, are you one of the guys who's like, oh my gosh, look at these crazy new skins that, again, I'm not going to put on my YouTube page, right? Because I don't agree with that kind of marketing. But are you excited for the skins? Man, the Mako one does look cool. You know, we can admit that at least that's a cool, wholesome one. Are the changes, like, impactful to you? Did one of your heroes, the heroes I mentioned here again as the biggest changes, nerfs-wise, Adelboris, Ikra, Kalari, buffs-wise, Akron, Decker, Greystone, Narbash, Skylar, and then a host of mages, Argus, Gadget, Gideon, Rena, Iggy, Belly. Did your favorite hero get hit? I'm happy to see some of the top dogs go down a little bit. Adelboris and Kalari I know have been pretty annoying to me recently, as well as some other ones getting hit, Rampage getting small nerfs and stuff like that, but let me know your thoughts, man. Looking forward to trying to enjoy Pred more. I've been having an absolute blast just losing a stupid amount of ranked games, man. It has been so fun. I'm looking forward to some more of it here soon. We'll catch you guys out there on the live streams. Thanks for stopping by. Keep enjoying Pred, folks. Just keep enjoying Pred.